Good morning and welcome to Viewpoint, your program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. Federal communication laws are getting tighter, so we can't talk about the politicians. We might offend somebody. So we'll just stick with personalities and whatever else that other P is. Both of you listeners out there will recall that we always try to start Viewpoint with a kudo or two. You drive around the courthouse square and do it in an evening because it's much prettier. Then get home. Somebody's plural, went to a lot of work to fit those nice trees around there. Starting with unloading the trees and the stakes to attach them to. So it had somebody just didn't show up with a light bulb or two and do a tree. This was a major project. And so, kudos. Let's take off our hats and have a big round of applause for everybody involved in that, by golly.
That's I don't know who came up with the idea or where it came from, but boy, I just love those. They are so nice. What a service to all of us.
Well, it sure makes you proud. My brother lives in Phoenix, Arizona, which is just right across the street from Surprise, Arizona, and which is a big surprise. You knew that was coming. So I told him about the courthouse and Mrs. Runge. We've had the folks involved in restoring that dome here as guests, and it's quite interesting. And so I slipped down the other day, a nice camera day, and I put my telephoto lens on and took some pictures of that dome to send them to Jack.
Oh, yes.
And he thought it was quite interesting. He wanted to know about how they're going to cover it with reinforced plastic. And I said, wish I could tell you. I know it's going to be a very sophisticated
Yes, we
operation.
must call them and have them back again here, too.
Yeah, well, we're getting that time now.
Yeah.
Let's get serious. Now, we have a young lady who had gotten out of bed early this morning because she had to go to work anyway. And she's kind enough to come and visit with us this morning. So go right ahead, Mrs. Busby.
Yes, Andrea Runge is the CEO of LEAD. Now, that's an acronym, and she'll go through that with us. But it's very good news for people in that the Back to Business grant application portal is now available. So that's going to be our main topic, although you'll just have to trust me on this. I think she could talk about anything. So if you veer off from Back to Business, I'm sure she can cover it. No doubt. None. I have much faith in you, Andy.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes. But this is good news for people. You know, it's been kind of a dicey year, hasn't it?
Well, a lot of businesses are definitely struggling. 2020 was very, very tough, and getting through that is another thing for kudos. Well, a lot of our local businesses were able to persist through one of the hardest years that we've had, at least in recent history, when it comes to being a small business owner. And for that, we need to be very grateful because it takes a lot of tenacity to get through, and imagination, and quick thinking, and adaptability to have made it through that year. And so Back to Business, the grant was a great opportunity to kind of help them recoup some of that through lost revenue between 2019 and 2020. And the portal was open, and unfortunately it closed in October, but it was open from August to October. And so
it was a quickie, wasn't it?
It was a quick one. It was a very quick one, and we were able to have I want to say somewhere around 48 different local businesses were able to get grant applications into the portal. But when you look at the applications that the state received, 70,000 applications for business assistance, which just is an indication of what those business owners had to go through to get to a point where they're available for us this Christmas season. It took grit. There's no other way to say it. Yeah. That is grit, and I'm happy to be here to help them kind of transition out of that and think about what we can learn from that time, how we can apply it to what we do going forward. boy, I hope we never go through another year like 2020. But, we can really learn from a business perspective a lot from a year like that in how do we become that kind of arduous business owner. How does it help us plan for the unexpected? And hopefully the unexpected next time is a blip, not a bump.
There you go. Now, this is through the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, which seems kind of like a pie in the sky thing right now by its title. But do you know whether there's any talk about resurrecting this in some way?
So what I do know is not a whole lot of concrete things, but I will tell you what I do know. So this is kind of the final or the most recent iteration of grant assistance from the state. And it's from the American Rescue Plan Act. So the Biden's ARPA plan came through to the state. They came down with several different programs, including this one. During 2020, they had business interruption grants. They've had paycheck protection. That was a federal one. There is a federal one through SBA called Economic Injury and Disaster Loans. That one's actually open right now, and if somebody is interested in that, they can apply all the way through to December 31st. And that's a loan, but there's something about that because there's 2 years of deferred payments. The interest rate is fixed for 30 years. It's very low, 3.75% for for-profit businesses.
Wow.
2.75% for nonprofit businesses. And during that deferment period, that interest accrues. So when I'm talking to people about that one, I make sure to tell them, if at all possible, you need to either save that money back so you can pay that in one chunk, or, make payments anyway, because there's no prepayment penalty. So for a business to have the ability, and one other thing about that one is they can use it to pay past debt. Huge. Never, ever, usually something that you can do with that kind of financing. So if you take that money and you consolidate your past debt, then all of a sudden you can maybe look differently at your payments because your term is longer, your interest rate is lower and fixed. So from a planning perspective, there are a lot of opportunities there, especially if you're a business that has, some debt to consolidate because of what you've gone through. There are things there that can help you. So yes, back to businesses closed. Do I believe there will be things coming up? Yes. We certainly aren't on the other side of the economic impact of COVID yet. We've got a lot of things happening. We've got supply chain issues. We've got workforce issues because the world's changed. And part of what we do as community and economic developers is to try to not only and not anticipate, although, boy, wouldn't that be nice, but to recognize and help assist communities, businesses to adjust to things that are coming down.
648-5510. You might have some questions of Andrea Runge. This girl came to the job with some real smarts. Either that or she boned up in a heck of a hurry. This is a very sophisticated job that Mrs. Runge has, and it takes a lot of expertise and a lot of know-how. So if you call in, take your hat off, show her respect. 648-5510. Andrea Runge showing you. Now, what was... I want to study this question just a minute here. What would be when you walk in your door any given morning?
Yeah.
Is there one particular problem that keeps popping on your desk?
Wouldn't that be lovely? No, there are different problems that pop up on my desk every day, and that's what makes my job exciting. It's what keeps me, I have a tendency to wake up about 2 a.m. and think about things, but it's not a cookie cutter job. It's really, a lot of people around town ask me what my list of services are. It's not that simple. It's much more tailor made to the person. person, because there might be somebody who's looking to expand but has a limited budget. So they're looking for space that fits their needs and their budget, which is sometimes a tall order. Or it's someone who's looking to get financing, and maybe they haven't had luck in the past. So it's financial stuff, and sometimes it's just being support. I think that is the part of the job that makes me have the best job in the world. I say that my job is to meet people, be their friend, and help them out. Best job.
Doesn't get any better than that, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No, really. And I'm sure that some of these people think the whole world hates them. I'm going to go out in the backyard and eat worms. And then along comes somebody nice who's trying to make it work for them.
Well, I think that, when we are looking at business and community development, things are, they're just not predictive. And if we were to make plans, what is the old saying? We make plans and God laughs.
Yeah, it probably does.
And, when it comes to what I do, that is certainly the case. If I came in with a big grand plan, it would be a good way to fail. It's not about that. It's about creating community with people. In a lot of ways, it's just, like I said, being their friend, loving them, listening to them, empowering them, and helping them to the next level. And when you're dealing with entrepreneurs all the way through to, large-scale operations, it's hard to figure out what one thing they all need, because they all need different things at different times.
Support is probably the word.
Before we skip to the commercials, I'm going to tell you that you suggest to you that you never had a client like me in your office. I'm the only one that I ever knew that went to the Small Business Administration in Chicago and was driven there in a chauffeur-driven limousine to borrow money.
Fancy.
To borrow money. I went to the Small Business Administration to see about, I was building a building at the time. I needed some substantial money, and I thought I could be better off with the Small Business Administration.
Yeah.
They told me I was too well qualified to come home and go to my bank, which is what I did. But I always thought that was funny. I went to the Small Business Administration in a chauffeur-driven limousine to borrow money.
Nowhere but America, right?
Nowhere but in America. Go ahead, Jim, with your commercials. Thank you. Right back live in the studios here at WLCN. The program, of course, each Wednesday morning, 0815 to 0900 hours. What is the name of this program, Mrs. Busby? Help me.
No, I can't help you.
I did check to see if she's. I just want to make sure she's alert. Sometimes she'll go to sleep on me here. Okay, welcome back to Viewpoint. And our guest this morning is testing 1, 2 is Andrea Runge. And she's associated. I'm going to let you tell me, Mrs. Busby, because I don't have the notes in front of me because it's a long title.
She's the CEO of LEAD. Now that's an acronym for Lincoln Economic Development or Advancement and Development. And what I'd like to know is how's it going economically developing?
Walk around the square.
Yeah, I think that there is a lot of energy going on, but I might have the inside track, and there may be things that I can't talk about. But I think that so I've been here. I got here on March 16th. That was my first day and Lead's first day. And considering that we've only been around not even 9 months yet,
yes.
I think that there is a lot of energy going on down there. A lot of people are looking to locate, looking to relocate, looking to come here, looking to start a new business, looking to expand. There's a lot of things going on.
Isn't that kind of a lucky, healthy way for it to be approached? Is they can feed off one another. I'm sure that and you can see that there are new places downtown. Mm-hmm. And it's so heartwarming because sometimes you get kind of scared that it isn't looking too good.
Well, and right now, we have a very dedicated group of downtown business owners.
Thank goodness.
They are one solid group. They have great instincts. They work really well together. They plan together on a monthly basis. They're very accepting of new people coming in. And I think that speaks a lot to what we are seeing down there, because people want to be a part of that. They see that, just like you're seeing it, and they're inspired by it, which brings us to something we were talking about over the break, which is what I do about business attraction. And it is, but in a different way. So there are 4 kinds of ways that we can bring economic development to a place, right? There's creation, so entrepreneurship. There's attraction, which is bringing in someone from the outside. There is retention, which is making sure that our local businesses stay. And there's expansion, so if people have the ability to grow, to help them do that. A lot of different entrepreneurs, or not entrepreneurs, economic developers will look at the attraction piece as the most important, because it gets really good headlines. 300 jobs coming to Lincoln. That'd be awesome. I mean, when I'm in the shower in the morning, that's what I'm manifesting. 300 jobs coming to Lincoln. But if we look at the May tags of Galesburg back in the day, those jobs can go quickly. It's kind of a fickle thing.
Easy come, easy go business?
It can be. I mean, obviously, we've attracted a lot of businesses to town who are very well connected with the community, and so not always, but the way that I approach economic development is kind of the flip of that. I'm looking at retention and expansion first. I want to take care of the businesses we have, because if they feel well taken care of, if they're supported, if they have what they need and their needs are met, then we are retaining those jobs in our community, which if we have retained jobs, that's less that we have to create. So that's where I start. So retention expansion is first. Creation is next. So we look at entrepreneurs, we support them, empower them, help connect them to what they need to get going. And attraction, to me, although I would never turn anyone away and would do anything I could to help them come in, very expensive to be competitive in that market. Everybody wants the Amazon. Everybody wants Amazon.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very expensive to get Amazon's attention. And if we do our job correctly, and we're doing retention, expansion, and creation, then attraction will be something that comes more organically, because people are going to see that there's something happening here, that we're celebrating what makes us us. And that, to me, is how we will be the best Lincoln we can be. We don't want to be the best Jacksonville or Joliet or Springfield or Decatur. We want to be the very best Lincoln possible. And if we are putting that forward, then, and making sure that we take care of the people we have attracted or who have started businesses here, that process is much more organic. And our resources are used because we have, in some ways, modest resources for the kind of things that we're doing. So if we're doing that in a way that is inspiring you to start a business, and your neighbor sees you do that and succeeds, and they always had a business that they wanted to start, then it's something that is catching. It is an energy that exists, which is a different way to look at it. But I believe, especially in a place that has a rich population, which we do, very entrepreneurial-minded population here in Lincoln. We approach different problems from a social economic spectrum and everything else very interestingly. And so all we have to do is empower people to look at what they do naturally or what they're passionate about, and we will grow Lincoln from the inside. And then people will take notice.
Jim,
How is it right here in central Illinois with jobs? Are there more people that want jobs and are willing to do them, or are there more jobs looking for people who want jobs and are willing to do them?
Well, I think that the question when it comes to that, especially right now, is that workforce is an issue.
Yes.
And workforce isn't just an issue in Lincoln, Logan County, or
No.
Central Illinois. Workforce is an issue internationally. That comes back to this predictive piece we were talking about, right? I don't know that anybody ever predicted that this would be where we were a year after we thought we were kind of on the backside of the pandemic. But there are a couple of things happening. In 2020, when all this was going on, people were sitting at home. We saw more new business startups than in the previous years.
How ironic.
Because people, I think, had much more time on their hands, perhaps. They had much more freedom and autonomy of that time. And all of a sudden, they were like, well, I've always wanted to do this, so why not do that? I think that plays into it. And then there are other things that are there, too. And it's something that we're going to have to solve. So I guess there's a good thing and a bad thing about that. The bad thing is I don't have a direct answer for you. The good thing is that we're in really good company because everyone is struggling with the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that when it comes to being adaptive, we were talking about being adaptive in business. I wonder if we need to be more adaptive in our thinking of how it comes to traditional work. Maybe people need to job share because they want to have more autonomy to do what they want. I don't know. There's a lot of things that are coming down the pike, but a lot of interesting things are coming up to meet that. So apprenticeships are big right now, and in different areas than what used to be. It used to be maybe we thought about trade-specific apprenticeships. Now apprenticeships can happen in any kind of industry, and there is money out there for apprenticeships on the business side to help offset some of the expenses that might be there. So there are ways to maybe think about business and workforce from a different perspective, but I think that we're going to have to be as adaptive as we were in meeting the needs of the pandemic when it came to our customer base. We may need to be that way when it comes to our workforce.
Last night on the news, today, of course, we start the month of December.
I know.
And they were saying that they were afraid that there was going to be a real shortage of people being Santa Claus. Now if that doesn't ruin your day, I don't know what will.
Well, I don't know about you, but for our young listeners out there, there's only one. So if he's sloughing off this year, then we do have a problem. But I think that we're experiencing all kinds of different things. We are in a different world, and
yes,
one of the things that we need to do well in order to adapt to any situation is just look to the future and not to the past, right? Things.
Amen.
So when we were here, let's say in 1980, Lincoln looked much different than it did in 1950, which looked different than it did in 1920. And so as we look to the future, what we look like or how we have business is probably going to change. Our community value doesn't have to in order to meet that. But now economic development's a little different, right? We're looking, although, again, if there are any major employers out there that are looking to move to Lincoln, please call me, 217-871-1439. I would love to have you here. But it's also much more personal. We've got entrepreneurs or people who can work from anywhere now. The world's a much smaller place when it comes to work. So people can work from anywhere.
Yes.
If they have a good internet connection. They can work from anywhere. And so it becomes much more personal. It becomes much more about place than it used to be.
Jim, do you suppose you can get her a position on Tucker Carlson's show? She would sell Lincoln, Logan County. This girl's very articulate. Listen, we have a lady with us that knows what the heck she's doing here this morning.
You betcha.
So, by the way, speaking of economic development and tourism, sometimes, we lament the passing of some places like Lane and Fink and Pittsburgh, Plate Glass and so on. but surrounding us in all the fields around us, we have some of the best entrepreneurs that God ever put a heart in, our farm friends.
Amen.
And that's a huge economic thing for Lincoln Golden County. And I don't. People have a tendency to just kind of forget because they see those slow driving wagons on the highway and get accustomed. But they seriously, the Golden County farmer is a huge economic impact for this area.
Yeah. My family, of course, I grew up in Adams County, but rural Adams County. And my family, we have a family farm. It's a sesquicentennial farm, 150 years in the same family.
Good for you.
And not in my branch of the family, but a different one. But it's true. We've got something that here, which is a work ethic, a love of the land, and talk about the ability to produce something out of nothing. And the faith of a farmer to plant a crop every year, to plan for it the right way, to watch it grow and be patient and faithful while it happens, and until the harvest. I mean, that is something that I'm much too impatient for. I don't have the stomach for it. I want a
that
quick
takes
reward.
a special person.
It absolutely does.
Because faith and perseverance are all they've got going for them. There's a lot they can't control.
Absolutely.
The farmer, once he gets that last seed in the ground, until the growing season starts, he's captive to whatever God ordains as far as our weather is concerned.
Absolutely.
And God has been very good to us here in Golden County down through the years, exceptionally so. We've never had a total failure.
How does it look to you across the board for this business of, for instance, we've got a lot of ships offshore that are floating around with what was going to be people's Christmas things as well as their business things. How does it look to you and people who have some smarts to look into these things?
Wow. I think that you are overestimating my intelligence there, maybe, or my ability to plan.
Nailed.
I think that it's just one of those things that we have to overcome. It's a problem we've got to solve. But I'll tell you how I would tell the people here to go about it, and that would be to shop local. If you are shopping
Very
local,
direct answer.
I'm sorry.
That's a very direct answer.
Well, it's true. Not only are you helping out your friends and neighbors by shopping local, I'll tell you this is an interesting little tidbit or statistics. If you spend $100, let's say, and you spend it at a national chain, which does employ people here locally,
sure.
If you spend it, you get $30 of that $100 back into the community.
In the community.
If you buy from a online store, how much of that do you get? How much of that $100 do you get?
Oh, I bet it's pretty small.
10. 0.
Well, you get $1 of that $100 if the delivery person is local.
Oh my gracious.
Just one of that $100. How much do you get if you buy from a local business? How much of that 70, or I'm sorry, I just gave away the answer.
It's nice of you to help us with the next question.
It's $70. So you get,
$70.
so of $100, you get 70 back into your local community if you shop local. So when it comes to your Christmas season, if you are concerned about whether or not what your big gift is going to be and if it's going to arrive on time, you can quell your concern and help your community by taking that money and spending it in your local consumer shopping places than if you spend it anywhere else.
Of dealing with some very nice people.
Well, and not
We
only
have
that, I
some
mean,
good
if you...
shop owners, we really have some very nice people.
We do.
What is the answer, though, to this conundrum of this buying online? well, other than me, because I'm not an onliner, I don't know the words.
She doesn't think it's here to stay.
It's not proven itself to me. But I don't do that, and I'm so into the local that I had a car accident, and the sticker on the back of my little SUV said a local car dealer here
Okay.
in Lincoln. Okay, so I was going to the Pink Shutter with a few things, and I backed into the dumpster and put a hole in the tailgate of my SUV. And so that wasn't enough for me. I did it again. So, thankfully, my son-in-law is a car fixing man.
Okay.
Bless his heart. And he put a new tailgate on my car that had 2 accidents with the dumpster at the Pink Shutter.
Okay.
And it says somebody from out of town. And I'm just sick about it because I want people to know that I buy in town.
Well, bless your heart.
Other
Bless your
people
heart.
don't have that mindset.
Right.
What do we do about this? Oh, I like that idea. I'll go online and see. Mm-hmm. It's just an epidemic, a pandemic.
So first of all, I think if you went to the local dealership and told them that you're sick about somebody else's sticker, they would be happy to heat gun that off and put theirs on for you.
I'll just do that.
Yes. So there's an easy solution for that, and I'm sure that any of our dealers would be happy to help you. When it comes to the other, I really think it's education. I think that talking to people about how much of their money is coming back to their local economy, I think it's something we just don't think about.
And that might get their attention.
Right. But, when we think about things, we were talking earlier about the Christmas trees, and that's Kathy Williams from Small Town Creation. She's the one.
It's a lovely little store.
It's a lovely little store. But think about that. Not only is she providing the service, I mean, she does all kinds of things in there, but not only is she providing a good service of having gifts to buy at Christmas, but she's also thinking about what our collective experience is going to be at Christmas time. And that's something that you're not going to get online.
Right.
People who care about you, about your neighbor. And I can't sit here and say that I don't online acquire, because at times that's the only way to get something that someone is hoping for. But I do.
It beats driving to Springfield.
Well, but I don't even know some of those things aren't available there. But I think that if I am conscious of it, then I'm going to be utilizing local more and more and more. So I think that the answer to that is just spreading the news. Just spreading the news. I mean, if we can tell the people that we run into that says, oh, I got this online, you can be like, $1 of that comes back to Lincoln if the person who delivered it is local, and if not,
There's even a qualifier for the dollar.
for the $1. That's right. And I'm not saying that that's not wrong. That's bad. I mean, we've got police. We've got post office people. We've got UPS people and FedEx people that are here locally, and that's wonderful. Oh, Mabel.
648-5510. Our guest this morning is Andrea Runge. If you've had a nice shopping experience, go ahead and call us in and tell us about it. And if you want to identify the store, the location, that'd be fine too. We'd like to give a little. We won't charge any commercials for that. But 648-5510. Our guest this morning, Andrea Runge. She's talking about economic development and tourism here in Logan County. It's vital to a small community. It's vital to any community, but particularly when you're a small knit community like we are here in Lincoln, Logan County.
Is it an apples and oranges thing, though, between trying to manage business in a town the size of Lincoln as opposed to a town the size of Bloomington, Springfield, Decatur? Is it apples and oranges?
The theory's the same.
It's the same apples and the same oranges dropping for the tree. It's how you pile them up.
Right. So we can't. it's not apples and oranges in the fact that what I do has, I have a master's degree in community and economic development. There's theory
I knew there was a reason for that.
There's theory that supports all of this, and how we interact with each other, either on a social community level or an economic development level. There's theory that supports all of it, and that is finite and doesn't change. I think that it's the how, not the what. So the what we do may be based in the same thing, but the how we do it is different. Would going through and really being about empowering and talking to local people and helping them, would that work in a bigger town? Yeah, it would, but it may be different. And honestly, I'm not really concerned with them. I'm not concerned with any of them. They seem to be doing fine. But what I'm concerned about is, which it would be what I would be concerned about with any town I was helping, which is really helping them develop and discover exactly who they are meant to be. It's not about changing them. It's not about comparing, which is where I see apples and oranges. Is it, are we comparing ourselves to others? No, it's not that. It's about, with any place, when you're doing place making, which is a part of this, that speaks to the tourism, and I think Morgan, before Alice, and now Alice, do a great job with that. It's not, when it comes to placemaking, it's not anything other than just believing in us. Collectively, we believe in us. We believe we make Lincoln great. We believe that our neighbor has the ability to do what they need to do, and then we support them in doing it. That is what I see.
Which speaks to buying online.
It does.
Because if you keep generating that belief of believing in what our people down around the square, and they don't have to be on the square per se, but our merchants, they work hard. They open up the door every day hoping they'll have a decent day. And if we sit there with the keyboard in front of us and graze online, that's money that doesn't turn over in the community.
Right. So that speaks, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds here, because I don't want to, I mean, your people are just waking up. I don't want to put them back down.
Oh, no, listen, people crawl out of bed just to listen to Judy and I.
Oh, I'm sure they do. But
Both of them.
In your dreams.
It comes down to what we would call economic multipliers. So when so we've talked about small town already. Let's talk about the B. So the B is downtown, or any other place, Abe's, anybody else. You go in there and you spend money there, and they pay the local employees, and on their way home they get dinner at a local place, and they stop and they get their pharmacy pickup at a local place, and they do all those things, and then those people take their salary and they're doing the same thing. So what you're talking about is multipliers. So when we spend our money locally, it's not only that $70 of that $100 is going back into the community, but that money, when it's going back into the community, if it's spent locally, it has another life. So that means so the way that works, it's kind of like, if you're trying to fill a bucket, and the bucket has a spigot at the bottom. When we look at economic development, we are filling the bucket. So we're bringing the money in. If we are spending money, because our merchants are bringing in sometimes things from outside of Lincoln, they're not all made here. So when they do that, they're turning that spigot. So they're letting water out of the bucket in a very controlled way. But the way that we're spending money, if we're spending in other ways, are like putting cracks in the bucket. So money is draining out of the bucket in a way that's not controlled. But while the water is in the bucket, as it swirls, we get more and more and more out of that dollar. And that is what economic multipliers are. The more we spend locally, the more we support local people, the more they spend their money locally and they support other people, then we take the same $70, and instead of being worth $70 to us, maybe it's worth $82.50, depending on how it's spent. So there is like we were talking about, the theory, the math, the basis of this. That's how this works. And so it takes all of it. It takes empowering local people. It takes shopping local. It takes mindset of what it makes important and how you want to spend your dollar, whether it's to help Mr. Bezos get to the moon or wherever he's going this week, or if it's to help your neighbor put cleats on their son for football. And that's really kind of the simple way to look at it. And whether or not we realize it, as a consumer, we have the ability to make those decisions, and we do them all the time on how we spend our money.
I wonder if she took that in graphics, verbal graphics 101, and part of your curricula, because you sure as heck nailed it right there.
Well, thank you.
Well, if you're going to be in a job like Mrs. Runge, you have to be, by nature, enthusiastic about what you do and where you're living. And she's doing a whale of a job. 648-5510. You just have a few minutes. If you have any questions, or any shopping experiences, she might try to go between you and some store that you're a little unhappy with.
Hey, sweetie.
Oh, we've only got a couple of minutes. Let's give you a couple of minutes to sum up here, Mrs. Runge. I've appreciated this very much, from being a lifelong resident of Lincoln and a business person for many, many years. More years than I'd like to talk about. But so let's sum up what you're trying to do here for us in Lincoln, Golden County. It's more than that.
No, I when it comes to LEAD, our mission, and we've worked really hard this year trying to get that established.
Yeah.
And I just want to say a shout out to my board. I have the most supportive, loving, compassionate, caring board.
Local people
Who care about Lincoln and wanted to see someone come in and really foster economic development. And I'm appreciative of the fact that they're willing to let me do it from the way that makes it me. I can't be anything other than authentically me. The way that I deal with it is caring about people. That's how I do it. It's not how everyone else does it, but I can only be me. And you get 100% genuinely me all the time. But when it comes to us, we're here to, and this is our mission, to empower Lincoln's economic health and vitality. Health, because it's so very central in some of our basic human needs to have a living wage. And vitality in the fact that we need to be able to pivot in order to, be on that shifting plate that is reality right now. Our environment's changing all the time economically. So we have to not just be able to have enough money to be healthy today, but we have to be able to be doing that in a way that helps us adjust to what's to come. And if I were going to sum it up, although there's a lot to that, that's what I would say.
I just foster this comment, Mrs. Busby. Even if they're not in business, people who are just residents and support businesses downtown, having a strong economic
Base.
Thank you very much. I knew I kept you around for some reason.
Call me Radar.
Means everything. So thank you very much, Andrea Runge, for sharing your expertise and your enthusiasm. Our hats off to the board for keeping you around, by golly.
Well, thank you very much. And hats off to you, Grand Marshals of the Christmas Parade tomorrow night. Make sure to come down and see all of the excitement.
We're pretty excited about it.
Oh, you should be.
Yeah,
My granddaughter just absolutely flipped. She thought it was the nicest thing she ever heard.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Judy's going to pass around reinforced cider.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you for Viewpoint.